And now moving on to the legs, we have the femur, tibia, and fibula. So here we have picture the femur. This head region would be connected into that acetabulum of the hip, of the pelvic girdle. Then we have the neck, which is going to be this little area bridging the head and the body. So this neck region. Then we have the greater trochanter. The greater trochanter is going to be on the outside, so not the part sticking in, not the big ball looking thing that'll be part of the joint itself. The outside part, greater trochanter, will be on the outside. Then we have the lesser trochanter, which is going to be a little bit south, a little bit further away, if you will, from the greater trochanter. So it's going to be a little bit more distal to the pelvic girdle than the greater trochanter. The greater trochanter would be more proximal to the pelvic girdle than the lesser trochanter. Then we have the medial condyles and the lateral condyles. So we have the medial on the inside. Okay, so this is the posterior view of the right leg. So this would be medial on the inside, medial. So this would be like the inside here, medial. And we have the lateral epicondyle. So we kind of got to know where we're looking. So the medial epicondyle will be on the same side as the head. All right. So if you can find the head of the femur, you can find the medial condyle or epicondyle. You can also say the same thing with the lateral condyle and epicondyle. All right. So these condyles and epicondyles, you can find them based on looking for the head. So lateral is going to be on the other side. All right, so you don't need to know the epicondyles. Sorry, I was saying epicondyle. Same thing as the condyle, basically same region generally. So medial and lateral epicondyles. Medial side, lateral side. And so looking ahead here, we have the head region, the greater trochanter, and the lesser trochanter. And then looking down, we can find that there's a head here. So that means that the medial condyle has got to be the larger one on the same side as the head region. And then the lateral condyle on the outside. Now looking at the tibia and the fibula, the smaller one is the fibula on the outside, okay? So on this slide, we're going to look at the tibia. The tibia is going to have this medial condyle on the inside. So it's going to be kind of like this really large area toward the top interacting with the condyles of the femur. So the medial condyle will interact with the medial condyle of the femur. And so getting your gist of where you're at here, when you get presented with a tibia, you can kind of see this point at the bottom. This is that medial malleolus that you need to know. That will be on the inside. So if you can find this point, you know that you're looking at the medial side of the tibia, because that point has to be medial. You'll know, oh, where's that medial malleolus? That's how I get my branching point for the tibia. All right, medial malleolus is right here. That means this has to be the medial condyle, which makes this the lateral condyle. And I already know that this little spiny region here on the inside is going to be the tibial tuberosity. And then after that, you already know what you need to know for the tibia. So seek out this medial malleolus. It will help distinguishing what else you're looking at here. So here's that tibia. You can find that medial malleolus, and then you can find the medial condyle. All right, and you can find your lateral condyle and your medial, or I'm sorry, your tibial tuberosity would be on the other side here. So looking at your little diagram from your lab manual and also your book, you can kind of see it in your lab manual. You can see it better even here. Your fibula has these this lateral malleolus. So this lateral malleolus is going to extend a little bit further down than the medial malleolus. And so if you can find the medial malleolus of the tibia, you can find the lateral malleolus at the very distal region of the fibula. And then you know that that's the south side, or the distal region of the fibula, at the bottom end. So this has to be the top end. All right, and then you can know where you're looking at here and get your bearings straight. And this is then going to basically lead up to where your ligaments are going to be connecting to your femur. Okay, so your ligaments are going to help connect bones to bones and your bones to muscles around in this area, ligaments and tendons at least. So looking right here, you can find your patella grouped in your next little objectives here. Patella is just your kneecap. just your knee bone. It's actually not connected to any other bones. It's free floating bone. Very, very, excuse me, very, very painful to break your patella. And then your leg, just to continue onward, we have your, just like in your hand, we have the tarsal bones instead of the carpals. So we have your tarsals. We're just going to link them together here. And in the tarsal bones, you need to be able to identify the talus, which is kind of this very large region. So right here, talus is the largest one. It's the one that if you stick your fingers and rub your hand on your foot, that big projection more medially of your foot on the top surface is going to be your talus. Calcaneus is going to be on the bottom. All right, so it's going to be your heel. So your calcaneus is your heel. Kind of looks a little bit upward here. We're looking at the right medial view. The calcaneal tuberosity, you don't need to know that. It's just an extension of the calcaneus. All right. And then you have your tarsals. Okay, your tarsals, not including the talus and the calcaneus, but they're kind of linked in there. They're just outgrowths of the tarsals. Don't need to know the individual ones, just that they're tarsals. And then the middle ones, metatarsals, and the distal ones are the phalanges. Okay, so your toes and your fingers, we just need to know that they're called phalanges. There's no different word. You do need to know the difference between metatarsals and metacarpals. Metacarpals in the hands, metatarsals in the feet. Same thing with tarsals. Now you have your synovial joints. So you're going to have an articular cartilage. This is going to be that hyaline cartilage at the end of your bones that we learned about in our tissue section. Oops. So you have this articular cartilage. It's going to help articulate your bones together, so the bones don't actually rub on each other, creating a nice surface for them to rub that doesn't create pain and nerve damage. When that wears down, it causes a lot of pain in adults. Then we have this joint articular capsule. Okay, so we have this fibrous capsule first, so fibrous articular capsule. So this is going to be the outside. And then we have the synovial membrane. That's the orange here. So you got to be able to label those on your diagram. And within that is going to be the synovial fluid. So if you ever hear about anybody bursting their bursa sac, that's basically what this is bursting into this sac region, synovial fluid branching out into areas that it's not supposed to be. All right. So this is the joint cavity, and the joint cavity contains the synovial fluid. And now your ligaments. So we have a bunch of different ones here. You have one that's labeling on your sheet. This is a really nice diagram for you to go fall back on in order to get your bearings straight. So what we're looking at here is the right knee. Okay. So we have our lateral collateral ligament, your LCL, on the lateral side. This will be your patella. Looking, and then we're on the anterior region here as well. So what we can see is toward the back here, in the middle, you can kind of see this ligament here is a little bit further ahead, closer to us than this posterior one. So this will be the anterior cruciate ligament, commonly torn in athletes, the ACL, and then the posterior cruciate ligament, PCL. That one's in the back, more posterior. You can kind of see it here too. Anterior is closer to the front of this knee, and the posterior is closer to the back, the PCL. Very commonly torn is this anterior one because people are putting their knee further than their toe. It puts a lot of pressure on the front of the knee here and this ACL here. And then you have the MCL, which is more medial, also very commonly torn because people are stepping outside their shoulder width, and it puts a lot of pressure on the medial side of your knee, the inside of your knee, and that ligament is taking a lot of that brute force and ends up tearing a lot of times, or at least partial tears. So you got your MCL, your LCL, your ACL, and your PCL. And then you also have your menisci. Your menisci are going to be kind of a little bit less connecting bones to bones, more so running around. So you can kind of see them here too, your menisci. So you'll have your medial meniscus on this side and your lateral meniscus over here. So this is your lateral meniscus right here, since this would be the lateral collateral ligament. This would be, you can't see the medial one here, but the medial one would be on the other side. All right, so everything's just based off of looking at different areas of the bone and then basing that region that you're looking at of the bone and saying which collateral ligament or cruciate ligament you're looking at. So if I gave you a view like this, Well, you hopefully be able to recognize that this is your tibia and this is your fibula, and you know that your fibula is on the outside of your leg. So that now we know this is the right leg, right? So this fibula is on the outside. So that means that this has to be the lateral collateral ligament because it's on the outside. You could also just remember that the fibula is connected to the lateral collateral ligament. Okay, and then that makes this the medial. And then I know I'm looking at the front of the knee because this is the patella. And so this has to be the anterior cruciate ligament. You could also say the same thing here. You can be like, there's no words anywhere on here, but this is the patella, and I can kind of see that this fibula, there's a fibula here. There's a smaller bone and a bigger bone. So this is probably the right knee. So this is probably the LCL, and then you can go from there. And so here's what you'd be looking at in lab. Basically the same thing that I just showed you, just a couple different views for you. And there is one more ligament that you need to know, and that is the patellar ligament or patellar tendon. Basically the same thing as you can put either and you'll get it right. It's connecting your patella to your tibia. So this patellar ligament here, very, very painful to tear that, just like if you break your patella. It's a painful and long rehab. I shouldn't say it's painful as the patella break. Breaking your bone is definitely more painful, a lot more nerves in your bone. But tearing this is more painful than other tears, and really long recovery rehab for that. All right, so this is kind of what you might be looking at in lab. This would be that patellar ligament. You can flap that over and find the patella underneath that. So you can feel your patellar ligament right over your patella. And a lot of this stuff, as you're going through, pausing the slideshow, just trying to feel the different areas of your body that we kind of went through and relate those to the terminology that you need to know. But other than that, that's it, and good luck for the week.